Hello, good evening, and welcome to Monkeys with Fire. How's everybody tonight? Hope you're all well. Hope you had a good weekend. So then, we are going to be going back to the dark, foggy streets of old London in the Victorian era. For this evening, we are going to be taking a look at Cthulhu by Gaslight, the Keeper's Guide. This was recently released from Chaosium Inc., and our thanks, of course, to Chaosium for providing a review copy for us to take a look at this evening. Now, regulars to the channel will know that at the end of last year, we did take a look at Cthulhu by Gaslight, the Investigator's Guide. So this is all the information you need as a player to create your character and to get a general idea of the Victorian setting. Obviously the Keeper's Guide is for the Games Master. So that being the case, I'm going to throw up the spoiler sign so that if you are a player, this is a book not for you to necessarily look at because you don't want to have any of the secrets spoiled before you play. But of course, as a keeper, then you most definitely want to check out tonight's show. By all means, if you have any questions, please do put them into the chat or leave a comment on the stream once it finishes, and I will do my best to answer them for you. All right then, let's jump to the table and take a look. So as I said, we did take a look at Cthulhu by Gaslight, the Investigator's Guide at the end of last year and really enjoyed looking through the book. But this evening, as I say, we are taking a look at the Keeper's Guide. So this is the Games Master focused book. Let's take a look on the back. So here we go. Unleash the horrors of the Victorian night. Reveal sinister secrets, forbidden lore, and mysteries of the late 19th century at your gaming table. Cthulhu by Gaslight takes the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game to the fog-shrouded streets of London and beyond. This book is specifically for keepers, those who will be running the game. Inside you'll find advice for bringing the late Victorian setting to life, villainous organizations and occult societies like the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. New occult-based skills, spells, tomes, and rules for astral combat. 2 introductory scenarios. Monsters and the Cthulhu Mythos in Gaslight Britain. Scenario seeds to help you create Gaslight stories of your own design. So this book requires the core rules found in the Cthulhu by Gaslight Investigator's Guide, which we've already seen just here. And you can enhance your Cthulhu by Gaslight experience with the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game and the Pulp Cthulhu supplement, both available separately. And of course, this book is for mature readers, which deals with mature themes and is intended for mature players. So, a little bit of a warning there that we might have some content in here which might not necessarily be suitable for all, so be warned. Right, so that essentially is a bit of an overview of what we're going to find. Before we get started, as we've become accustomed, the books from Chaosium Inc. are really good quality. Hardbacked books. Lots of artwork, nice layout, very easy to be able to read, nice large fonts. Again, if you are already a player of Call of Cthulhu, you'll be familiar with a lot of this and already, as I say, accustomed to the design of the book. So, it's all good stuff. Right, I am going to put up the spoilers, because as we go through this we are bound to touch on some things that are, well, everything's for the keeper's eyes only, so players be warned. Okay, so what do we have here? We have this wonderful cover art of a couple of London police officers. I'm not sure they are long for this world, given the creature that is within this dark tunnel. Let's come on in. So, of course, certainly it's something that I am learning as I've been going through these books, that Cthulhu is on its, I think it's its 7th edition now, and so I always enjoy reading these clear credits as we take a look to see how these books have evolved. There may be players out there who've had a previous version of this particular book, and this of course has now been updated with new information, and this is where we can basically find out what has been added. So this actually, yes, is this the 4th edition now? I think it is. And I believe that originally the Cthulhu by Gaslight was one large book, and they've now split it out into 2 separate books to, I suppose, give them more room to be able to focus on Games Master related content. But also, I suppose it means it's easier for players to be able to just buy a copy of the Investigator's Guide and not worry too much about seeing anything that is considered spoilerish. We have our page of contents. We're going to have Keepers Miscellaneous, and then Occult Secrets and the Golden Dawn, Running Gaslight Games, Notable Victorians, Victorian Horrors, so getting interesting. And then we do have 2 scenarios, and we will skip over those because we don't want to go into any detail and really spoil the book. But we have the Forby Masterwork, and the Oranges and Lemons, and then an appendices. We do have, again, a content warning. Ultimately, it is for the keeper to discuss the content of the game that they're going to play with the players around the table, and just to make sure that everybody's happy with that content. Games are meant to be fun, even if we are dealing with a horror or a dark theme. We don't want anybody to feel truly uncomfortable, so always check with your players to make sure they're happy with what's being included. So we got some of this nice artwork. I've got no idea what type of creature that is, but I can't imagine these people are going to last very long. So what do we have? An introduction. So using these guides, so he's basically giving you an idea of how the different books are used, and some advice for first-time keepers. I think that's very useful. Of course, there could be people coming brand new to the game, and whereas some have years and years of experience and can skip through this very, very quickly, for somebody who's new, this is really important. And this is something I think I commented on when we took a look at the Call of Cthulhu starter set. I really, really enjoyed that. I thought it was well written for any new players. So that's a really good starting place. And in fact, I probably would recommend that anybody who is interested in the Cthulhu gaming, get yourself a copy of that, because it was quite inexpensive. Learn the game from it, and then potentially come and play this, and I think you'll be in a better position. We're getting in a bit of an overview of horror in the Victorian era. And of course, how then the Cthulhu mythos fits into that. I wonder if they talk about penny dreadfuls in this. Let me just have a quick scan. There was a television series called Penny Dreadful. I really enjoyed that. So, we go into chapter 1. And as it says here, this chapter functions as an extension to the Cthulhu by Gaslight Investigator's Guide. It provides further historical background, particularly for those aspects of society that are not known to the public at large. More detail on institutions only accessed by the penniless and the destitute. So on prisons, on asylums, and on crimes in the Gaslight era. Okay, interesting. So we've got workhouses. Gosh. As the 19th century progressed, different parishes clubbed together in response to the needs of rising population to form poor law unions and construct workhouses capable of caring for the poor of dozens of parishes. See, again, I think the books are very interesting as a sort of summary of history. I guess you could obviously look online for some of these aspects, but I always find, as we've discussed many times, role-playing games are great ways that if you are interested in a subject, to get all of that information in a sort of concise format. Rookeries. So the slums are not mapped. Rookeries were and should be unmappable. They are three-dimensional labyrinths where no floor matches the one below or above. Clusters of jerry-built extensions, corridors, tunnels, dividing rooms. This is interesting. So we're getting some floor plans here. This is of a country house. It's for the upper class. Good evening, Roger. Welcome. We've just started taking a look through Cthulhu by Gaslight Keeper's Guide. This is the book for the Games Master, and we are learning a little bit about workhouses. We're going to go on to crime in a bit, but we've just come across some nice floor plans. This is cool. This is a townhouse, and wow, it's quite an extensive house there. So what's it saying? This is an example plan from 1883 in Grosvenor Square, and it is particularly grand. Note the double height ballroom. Yeah, that is quite something. The cover is wonderful. In fact, let me just quickly see when you bring them both together. They're really cool. The artwork is really nice within all of these books. But I'm enjoying these. Now let's have a terraced housing. This is more for the I suppose the working class, isn't it? You got your you got your wash houses and your privies. Of course, in this time it'd be outside toilets, wouldn't it? And then here we go. This is your workhouse. Wow. And again, you're getting a little bit of history in here as well. You know, this is good. Okay. So the rookeries, which we got a little bit of a this is where it's sort of interconnecting tunnels and rooms, all sort of put together randomly, and we got now a sort of random encounter as to what we might find as we're searching through. What do we have? We have a workshop, there's a toilet, a kitchen, a drinking den, a bedroom, blood sports, a dog fight or a ratting pit, or bare knuckle boxing. My goodness. So yes, exploring the rookeries could be quite an interesting encounter. So it's neat to have floor plans in the book. Helps you see what the buildings were like during the time period. Yeah. Just a shame that we don't have any exterior views. That would have been quite useful, wouldn't it? But again, we're getting some nice artwork here as we go through. So, crime and punishment. Victorian sentencing is notable in that the legal system does not treat crimes of violence as more egregious than crimes against property. Society treats violence among the working class as an intractable moral failing, and it is common to receive only a few months' imprisonment for beating someone nearly to the verge of death. Oh my goodness. Okay. Thank God we've changed those laws. So, typical sentence for common crimes. Attempted murder from 12 months imprisonment to 8 years of hard labour. Wow. So, fraud, you get up to 5 years of hard labour. So you get more time for fraud than you would do for attempted murder. Yep. So, what do we have? We have fines, flogging, and birching. What's birching? So flogging is either a cat of 9 tails or the birch rod. The judge specifies which and how many strokes. Wow, alright then. So boys under 16 cannot have the cat of 9 tails used on them, but they can be flogged with the birch. I'm assuming it's kind of a sort of bendable sort of stick type thing, isn't it? A cane. Is that what it would be? I wonder if they talk about caning in schools. Hard labour, life sentences. And so then we have a bit of a section then on prisons. And then some famous crimes of the era. The Trial of the Detectives in 1877. The Barnes Mystery in 1879. This is interesting. And of course then I suppose the most famous of crimes of the Victorian era would be the Ripper murders in 1888. And you could do so much around this, couldn't you? You really could. I suppose you could near enough dedicate an entire supplement to the Ripper murders. So having just, I suppose, 2 pages worth seems very, very small given the volume of material you possibly could do, but then you'd have no space for anything else. So yes, that would be definitely an interesting... Maybe having the Ripper murders occurring underneath what game and story you're trying to tell. So, okay. Yeah, so it's actually quite a few here. The Murder Castle. So, okay, that's going to be a lot of interesting reading. So then we move on to asylums. And what do we have? We have various tables here, and we like tables. So, first one is... Oh, well, actually, it's telling us all about where all the asylums are located across Great Britain in various locations when it was founded, what their cure rate is, and what their capacity is. Let's see. Does any of these asylums have a 100% cure rate? No. The best is 50% in Holloway Sanatorium, Virginia Water in Surrey. So that's the asylum you want to go to. 50-50. Flip of a coin. And of course, I guess some of the names here are not particularly correct by today's standards. Oh gosh, here we go. Cure rate. Roll every month. Success means 1d3 sanity restored. If a patient also makes a successful sanity roll, underlying condition is cured. Oh, well, there you go. It's so much easier for a game character. And so talking about water therapy. Oh gosh. Yes, some of the things that we've done in the name of medicine and helping people. Yeah, I'm not quite sure ice cold water is going to have the desired effect. Villainous organizations: the Hatfield Club, the Morley Gang. I think, is this Cult Cthulhu? The Galton Group? So is this something that's been added? Are these actually historical? So I think these are made up gangs. Because yes, we get some possible plot connections. Okay. Servants of the Empire. Alright, so there we go. We had some floor plans of different buildings. We had a little bit of information on crime. And finishing off then with asylums and with some local gangs, London gangs maybe. So, Chapter 2, Occult Secrets and the Golden Dawn. Running seances. My goodness. The Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. I think this is actually part of the Mythos, isn't it? Because I'm pretty sure this has been mentioned before. And then talking about the astral plane. They actually go into quite some detail on this. More tables. So we're getting a little bit more of the game element coming on in here now. And then astral combat. And then we have some monsters. Oh, what do we have? So, astral predator, sharks from beyond. Astral vermin, parasitic feeders. Nice. And then some spells. Outer order spell, the pentagram of protection. Amulet of astral projection. I'm kind of getting a bit of a Doctor Strange vibe here. Okay. And then we have some tomes. And again, learning spells, casting spells. So yes, definitely gone more into the rules, into the game aspect here. Variety of different tomes that you might get. Again, I like all this art. This is really cool. Would you have to go to maybe one of the British library, going into a secret level to go and find these books that, of course, we do not have. Ah, there we go. Oh, this is interesting. Now, again, I wonder, is this real? It can't be real. But it's saying that this is the nameless cults. So details numerous cults and secret societies, human and otherwise, and their varied means and methods of worship. 2 editions of this book arrived during the Victorian age. The first is in German and serviced in Hamburg in 1839, while an English translation emerged in London in 1845. Copies of the first illustrated edition are incredibly rare, although there is one in the Bodleian Library in Oxford. The English edition is more common, and there is one in each of the legal deposit libraries. I think that's made up. I don't think that's real. That's cool, though. I like this. That's very cool. Oh, the Necronomicon. But where do you find it? 5 copies are known to exist. The British Museum holds 2 different versions of the Necronomicon. Interesting. There you go. It's the British Museum. Chapter 3. So we're getting Games Master rules. Running Gaslight games. Again, we're getting a little bit of a content warning here about obviously problematic content due to the time period. As it says here, it's definitely worth discussing with your players just to make sure that they are happy with everything that might be included in your game session. Because, yes, there's a lot of statements and things that characters might say or places that some people might take offense to these days. So always make sure that everybody's happy. So what have we got here? Situational rules, summoning the police. In fact, actually, yes, it does actually go into a reasonable amount of detail. I am starting to see similar kind of sections in most role-playing games that I am taking a look at now. It seems to be a common thing of putting in content warnings and making sure everyone's happy around the table with the content. But ultimately, all games are about having fun, aren't they? And you should tailor your games so that everybody around the table does have fun. So what do we have here? We got a bit of an illustration here of the class structure. Social class, which of course is so important in the Victorian era. Gas leaks. Okay. And the fog. Drowning. Getting reputation. Because of course you're only as good as your word. Or good as your name. Carriage chases. Can you actually shout, "Follow that cab"? We've got a couple of charts here. Ah, more new keeper advice. Like that. And then talking about doing campaigns, episodic or character-based. So we're getting decent amount of information here about how to put together your own stories. I suppose that at some point they will release maybe some scenarios for Cthulhu by Gaslight. But saying that, as we talked about right at the very beginning, this has been out for some time as far as the game. This is just the 4th edition of it. So there will be older versions of scenarios out there that could be easily adapted to some of the newer rules. So we have themes. So a little bit of section here on the Mythos. And in fact, here we go. Other Call of Cthulhu scenarios available specifically for the Gaslight setting, with more forthcoming. So in fact, yeah, there's a bit here, and it is saying, yeah, here we go. You can find licensed creator published content in the official Miskatonic repository at Drive-Thru RPG. Okay, so plenty of content for you to go and source. But what do we have here? We have a little bit of a section about Victorian science fiction. Now, I was wondering if we would get something like that. Okay. Yeah, we got Edgar Rice Burroughs being mentioned, and we got Arthur Conan Doyle. We got H.G. Wells and Jules Verne. This is interesting. Okay, but we'll move on. Folk horror. And I suppose there's a little bit of, maybe there's a bit of a crossover here. One of the games that regulars to the channel will know that I particularly enjoy is Vassan from Free League Publishing. And they did a expansion book for the British Isles. So there are elements of, even though it's just one small section here, but folk horror, Vassan would plug into this aspect here. That would be a useful book as far as taking a look at what type of creatures people were fearful of in rural communities where they still believed before industrialization came on in. Of course, we do have some ribbon bookmarks, as we are used to. Section on ghosts. Interesting. To ghosts and ghost stories. That's different. Yes, it says keepers wanting to change of pace from Mythos horror investigations may wish to create more traditional hauntings for investigators to explore. Haha, cool. So that would be quite good fun. The American West. Buffalo Bill's Wild West. And Buffalo Bill did come to Great Britain, didn't he? So then we have some adventure seeds, giving you some ideas for different kinds of stories you might want to create. So using the workhouse, using Victorian family values, the rookeries, middle class, countryside, a country house, the empire, travel. Oh, this is actually quite cool. Using the Martians. Yes, I hoped we would come to something like this. It's going to talk about Victorian horrors in Chapter 5. Yes, yes, yes. That's what we want. Okay, we've got this wonderful map of London. Again, this was featured in the Investigator's Guide as also a poster map. But this is ideal for the keeper, with a bit of a key there. This is interesting. Just sorry, while I'm scanning through this. So it's talking about H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds, and of course it says please read the novel, the original novel, and not any works later done from it, because of course they've all changed. The original one, of course, has got the true Victorian setting, and it is actually a really good story. Well worth reading. For our London people, how accurate is the map? Well, it is, of course, of the time. Does it actually give it a date? I mean, of course, it's like the 1890s, isn't it? Let's see if I can find any places of interest. Just purely. See, there's Oxford Street. We've got Hyde Park here. There used to be a car park under Hyde Park that I used to park in all the time. It wasn't there in this time for this map, but it is, you know, 100 years later. And so yeah, Oxford Street, Regent Street. That's Charing Cross down here. You see, that's the thing about London, is that it hasn't massively changed. A lot of these streets are all, you know, pretty much still there. It'll just be a case of the buildings have been repurposed over and over and over again. Some have gone, some have been rebuilt. But the main structure of the roads and that will more than likely all be very similar. Where is... We got the Docklands around here. I'm trying to find, because I think it's not. It's further along, isn't it? Let me see if I can look on here. Ah, that's interesting. We can look where the rookeries are. The number 9 is Trafalgar Square. Let's find Buckingham Palace, number 2. There we go, of course it is. Obviously, it's much easier to take a look through the poster map in the Investigator's Guide. Okay, so that's interesting that we finish off with H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds, because then we start getting this quite fantastical artwork. So, notable Victorians. I really enjoyed... Do you remember we looked at the Arkham book? And what I really enjoyed about that was all of the NPCs that the book included. And this has something very, very similar. We've got little descriptions here of, as it says, notable people of the age. Queen Victoria, Prince Albert. I'm going to see how many of these people I'm aware of. Florence Nightingale. Wow, this Major General Charles George Gordon has got quite a considerable amount of write-up. Ah, Dr. Thomas John Bernardo. And of course there's the charity Bernardos. I'm seeing if I know anyone. William Butler, is it Butler Yeats? The poet? William Cody. One for our US viewers. 1846 to 1917. And Phoebe Ann Moses. Is it Moses? Annie Oakley. So, oh gosh. Is Annie Oakley in Deadwood? In that TV series? Amazing TV series. Is that the same time period? ish. So most of these I don't know, but again, this is what's interesting about books like this. Yeah, should be the same. Did you enjoy Deadwood? It's great. I thought it was a great series. Again, I'm not recognizing any of these. Okay, we got some explorers. But it is good that they break them up into... So what was this section here? Occult and folklore figures. Some of these might be made up then. But, you know, you could always do a quick internet search. No. Just got some others here. Ah, here we go. Joseph Carey Merrick, the Elephant Man. I think they're making a film again. Fictional people. This is interesting. Here we go. So here are some characters straight out of the novels of the time. Captain Nemo, Dr. Moreau, Dorian Gray, Madame Sarah. Oh, but surely, where's Mr. Holmes? No Holmes? Maybe Holmes will be later on then. Dorian Gray would be a cool character. So here we go. Victorian horrors. This is what we want, don't we? London's strange sights. Talks about Cleopatra's Needle, Westminster Abbey, Tower of London. And then section on introducing the Cthulhu Mythos into Britain. And it's giving a bit of a quick summary of what is the Cthulhu Mythos. This is something that I thought a little bit interesting. And I'm looking at this purely from the point of view of if you knew nothing about Cthulhu, the Cthulhu Mythos, then how good does this book explain it to you? Now, I think the chances of you deciding, I want to go and get this book purely because I thought the cover looked awesome, it's unlikely that's going to be the case. I would imagine that most people who pick this up already know about Cthulhu and have read some of the stories. But it is interesting that it doesn't necessarily go into massive amounts of detail. And this is where the core rules for the game Call of Cthulhu does spend a good amount of time explaining the Cthulhu Mythos. So as much as these books say you don't need to have the core game of Call of Cthulhu, it is helpful if you want to bring in elements of the mythos, more so than what it details here. I guess, yes, you could quite happily play the game on its own from these alone, but I imagine that if you're a player and fan of Call of Cthulhu, you're probably going to be getting all of these, aren't you? So, what do we have here? Beyond the Mythos. This section details some monstrous Victorian individuals and others who fall outside the Cthulhu Mythos. Alright, beast people. Yep. Martians. This is what we're talking about. Yes, yes, yes. There we go. Ah, and of course it's proper Victorian Martians. Yes, HMS Thunderchild. You see, as much as this is this is Cthulhu, I think having some game played during the events of War of the Worlds would be absolutely amazing. I would really enjoy it for that. And we get a chronology. So the Martian invasion was only 15 days. Yep. Brilliant. That's really cool. Personality monsters. Count Dracula. But who is Carmilla? Countess Carstein, who died in 1699, is a vampire. Right. This section includes 3 of popular fiction's first vampires, as well as other creatures of Victorian terror. Wasn't familiar with this, so that's interesting. Count Dracula, of course, everybody knows. Count. And then Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Very cool. Again, I think these elements, playing a version of the game that includes characters from fiction, I think that would be really cool. Oh, here we go. Frankenstein's monster. The creature. Who is Helen Vaughan? Okay. Need to find out about her. Spring-heeled Jack. Now, I think that is where we stop, because these are the scenarios, and we don't want to ruin those. Just have a quick scan at the back here. So, the appendices, got some book resources. Wow, quite a lot. So, for any of the things, so here you go, yes, when you want to look up about Jack the Ripper, there are various websites you can go to. Television shows, The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, The Irregulars, Miss Scarlet and the Duke. Somebody actually mentioned Miss Scarlet and the Duke when we looked at the Investigator's Guide. Penny Dreadful, there we go, and Ripper Street. And then we're getting some general Victorians here. Again, wonderful artwork. Yeah, I like that. So I think that is it. Because we don't want to ruin these scenarios. Penny Dreadful, another good series. It was, wasn't it? So I'm a little bit surprised. Again, looking at these Victorian characters from fiction, that we didn't have Sherlock Holmes. There's no reason why you couldn't create it. I'm sure probably someone's already done it. I think that's definitely a worthwhile inclusion for these notable Victorians in the fictional people. Could it be copyrighted? Yeah, but it's over 100 years now, isn't it? But yeah, you're possibly right. Possibly right. Yes, Captain Nemo is Jules. So these are Jules Verne, Well, actually, there you go. He's got Jules Verne's and H.G. Wells. Maybe you're right on that one. Maybe it's just a bit too close. Here we go. Yes, so we do have the sources. Who was this? Who wrote Dorian Gray? Oscar Wilde. 1891. So maybe it is a case of it's still within its copyright. I'm sure there's some creative keepers out there who probably have created the Holmes character. But I love the fact that we can have the Martian War. I think that'd be absolutely brilliant. That is just going to be so much fun. Yeah, shame he's not in it, but you can put him in on your own. Yep, absolutely. Yep. So there you go. That's basically it. Because like I say, I don't want to ruin those scenarios. Yes, so I think overall this definitely adds to the Investigator's Guide. Adds a few elements that are not covered there. Some unique elements to it. So it's a worthy addition to your collection, I guess, with that being the case. Yeah. It's hard to sort of say. I think we would be something that you will just naturally get because it's worth having for those elements that are not included in the Investigator's Guide. Certainly, I think everyone's going to just start off with this one, aren't they? This is where the core rules are. This is where the character creations are. It's only your keeper who is going to have a little bit more interest in this particular book. Just to be able to offer up some slightly different elements that are not part of this. I think that really would be an interesting game of getting friends together to say, hey, we're going to play in Victorian London, and then we have this Martian invasion going on. I think that would be a great game. I think that would be a lot of fun. Roger, you're saying very good book. Yeah, well, again, I'm enjoying looking through these Call of Cthulhu books because it's something that I've been, of course, aware of for many, many years, but never actually been able to take a look through. And my sort of background was playing board games based within the Cthulhu mythos. So to be able to see it fleshed out and with so much detail, and it's been a real pleasure. So there we go. That's it. That's the two. We'll have to see what happens next, as again, if they're going to be releasing any scenarios or additional sort of campaign settings. We looked at the Arkham book, didn't we, at the beginning of the year, and I believe that they're doing several other versions of that similar style. I think the next one was going to be, is it the Miskatonic University? Because there, of course, is just so much information that they could possibly put. It deserves a book in its own right. So I'm looking forward to seeing that one as and when, if that comes out. So there we go. Again, our thanks to Chaosium Inc. for providing, well, both copies of the Investigator's Guide and the Keeper's Guide for us to be able to take a look at. Now, on Wednesday evening, we are going to be doing a brand new release of a system that we are very familiar with and really enjoy. But we're going to be taking a look at Black Powder and Brimstone, which is a grim dark fantasy RPG. This is being published by Free League Publishing, and if I told you this is action-packed, rules light and art heavy, then of course you know that it's got to be based on the Morkborg rule set. And you know that I'm a big fan of that particular set of rules. Of course, I love Morkborg. I like Cyborg. I think Pirateborg is amazing. So we're going to find out how Black Powder and Brimstone measures up. So that is the game that we'll be taking a look at on Wednesday night. Again, from 7 o'clock. Hope you will be able to join me then. Thanks for watching, and until next time, bye for now.